Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my new YouTube channel where we're going to be doing reviews on games that we play on stream. So we'll post the gameplay first, and then we'll post the reviews, which the reviews are coming from a casual gamer who likes competitive, but not necessarily. I more like enjoy campaigns. So I've come up with a point system of how to get the ratings from my personal perspective. Of course, everybody's going to be different. So if you guys are watching this and you're curious about a game that I've played, just take that with a grain of salt. Just because I enjoy it doesn't necessarily mean you do. We're going to be going off of 5 categories, and as we go through, I'll say what the categories are. So for category one, we're going to be doing the controls of the game, which includes how the fighting works, the jumping, if it's platformer, things like that, how smooth the game runs for its time, especially because like with these, we're not doing all current or all old. It's going to be from different generations. This will include like fighting, the style of fighting, if it's a shooter, how the shooting works, and all those different things. So for this one, we're reviewing Haunted Mansion on the GameCube, the Disney Haunted Mansion, I think it's called. You'll be able to see it in the title, obviously. So for this one, the different weapon types are pretty interesting. You use a lantern and you shoot different things as you go. So like there's one that's like a little explosion. There's one that's like a little pellet, which is like the base one. And there's I think 4 in total, but I don't want to go through all of them because you guys will see in the actual videos if you watch them. As you play, they get upgraded just from playing the game. You don't pick and choose, which I kind of like because it makes it very linear. And one thing that may be different for me compared to other people, I prefer linear games more than games where it has too much free roam. Obviously, things like Skyrim, still great games. I still love those games, but overall, I like games that are linear, like God of War, where there's some exploration but not too much. For this one, it's a GameCube game, so it's obviously not going to be the craziest, but for its time, it was pretty good. I would say overall it was a 7. There was some issues while playing it, but it wasn't like anything major. So I would say 7 out of 10 for the first category, which is controls and how the gameplay works. For the second one, we're going to go off of graphics of the game and how good the world and characters are look-wise. Not development, not anything like that, just pure looks. So things that could be determined is like how the weapons look, how the overall world looks. So like if you're going to take, let's say, Roblox, even though it's a older game, like it's not necessarily going to look, it's not like whole goal to look amazing, but it's meant to be fun. So that would get a lower score than something like Breath of the Wild. So for this game, I would say the graphics for its time, especially, were pretty good in comparison to other games that were out for that time. But it wasn't like anything super spectacular. It wasn't like a Mario. It wasn't Pokemon on the GameCube. It wasn't anything like that, but it was still pretty good. So we're going to give that a 6.5 out of 10. The next category is the music and the overall sound effects, how well it fit the game, if it makes sense for the game, because there's definitely been games where I played where they don't necessarily co-line at all. But overall, it's just going off of that. So for this game, I would argue that the music fit it perfectly. It is a Disney game. It did come from the movies as well, so it kind of makes sense that it would have pretty good audio, pretty good sounds overall. The sounds in the game were very, very memorable, which I think is a very key thing to bring up when you're playing it. Every fight, the bosses had very unique music, which I think fit perfectly for the game. So for that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Of course, it's not perfect because it is an older thing, which I guess maybe with that taken into account, it could be a 10 out of 10, but there was some like issues I had. Maybe that was just my console. Yeah, so 9 out of 10 for the music and the sound effects. For category 4 is how good the story is, how well paced it is, the world and character development as you play the game, different things like that. So for me, I include the likability of it, and this one, some people agree, some people don't. The predictability of it. So if a game's too predictable, I will dock it points. That's kind of like a one that a lot of people agree. So I would say if you don't agree with that same thing on a game that I mentioned is predictable, I would say just add another point to it, and that's what it'd be if you don't really care. So for
I
this, I
could
think
always
there's
use a good
overall good
first mate.
character development for
That is,
both
if
the
you're
main
still in
guy
need of
who
gainful
you play
employment when this is all
and for
over.
the ghosts throughout
Keep
the
that in
game.
mind.
The
Half of the loot
story
for the
wasn't the
first mate,
best ever. It was
20%, and
good.
not a penny less.
It was pretty well paced. It wasn't too slow, but it wasn't too fast. I overall enjoyed it. I think
Hmm.
um,
The
the
markings
only
on
room
this
that could have
ring
been really
seem
changed
familiar.
was maybe giving a little bit more story. But again, it's also older, so with those you kind of have to take in that into consideration. Um, but I'd say it was pretty good. I would overall rate it an 8 out of 10 because I enjoyed it. It obviously was good enough to have a premise for a TV or a movie, I think, that came out. I think that was the one with Eddie Murphy. But yeah, so I'd give this an 8 out of 10. Category 5, which is probably the biggest one in my opinion, but it's also purely personal based. Like, if you're going to take it into consideration, that's purely up to you. And this is, I feel like, where most people get it is um, my overall enjoyment with the game. If there's any game breaking glitches or things that made it to where I just did not have fun, things like that. This is just the overall experience. So like in this, it would count like for nostalgia. If you're playing a game when you were a kid, how nostalgic the game would be. So for this one, I asked my friends as well who played this as a kid. I didn't play it as a kid. I played it only when I was an adult. And all my friends loved this game. All my friends remember this game like the back of their hands as kids. They remember like when they were watching it while I was playing it. They literally remembered every single part of it. It just overall was pretty memorable for them. For me, I would say if I played as a kid, I would assume it would be very memorable because of how much I liked it now. And obviously, being that's an older game, it's a little bit different enjoyment levels because obviously the type of games we get now are just so advanced. Um, so I would say with their perspective and my perspective, I would say overall this one's probably an 8 out of 10 because as I mentioned before, there was a lot of good things about the game. The audio, the overall gameplay was pretty good. Um, things like that. There wasn't too many downsides to this game. Maybe just the pacing might have been a little too slow for some people. Like I mentioned before, the graphics weren't the absolute best, but overall it was pretty good. So with that, those are the 5 categories. It's overall experience, which if you want, you can just take it out and I'll put the calculations somewhere on the screen as well when I put the overall rating. But so it's music, sound effects, graphics, story, the controls of the game, and experience. So with those 5, um, my overall rating of the game would be a 7.7. Um, I think that's pretty fair for an older game. I think it's, like I said, an enjoyable game. The game, obviously, because it's a little bit older, kind of felt a little clunky at times, but being that that's my worst problem with the game, which isn't even a big deal, I would say that game pretty good. 7.5. Like I said, I don't have the calculation now, but I will put it below the 5 rating if you want to take out my personal experience, because you guys may have a different one if you guys decide to play this. But I hope if this is a deciding factor to determine if you're going to get a game or not, I hope this kind of helped you guys out. I will also be showing clips in between each category just so you guys can kind of see the gameplay, see what I'm talking about. The only one that may be not fully there would be the music, but I'll show gameplay along with that part as well so you guys can kind of check the game out if you don't want to watch the full gameplay. If you're just trying to determine if you're going to get it. If you're not trying to determine and you just want to watch the overall gameplay, that will be posted before this comes out periodically. I think I'm going to be doing a couple days a week. Um, and if there's any recommendations you guys want to see, just put them in the comments. I read all my comments. If there's a game that I have that I want to play as well, I'll play it on stream. You can watch on my stream at twitch.tv/DackTheCollector. Exact same name I have on every single platform where I play these games on stream. And that's where all the gameplay comes from. You guys can check it out. My other YouTube, I guess, the main one, that one's now just going to become streams. So if you guys want to see that, I'll have that link below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, leave comments. They're always fun to read, always fun to engage with you guys. And I will have links to every other platform I post on, including my Discord, every streaming platform, everything, all that. But if you guys enjoyed, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and have a good one, guys. See ya.